Hey, all right. It's the Android Headline Show. This is episode 70. 70. My name's Jeremiah. I'm joined tonight by Nick and Alex from the site. You guys want to say what's up?
What's up, everyone?
Hey, how's it going?
Make sure I unclick my face tonight.
Good
Last week of
plan.
the Yeah, man, last week or the week before I clicked it was focused on me for the first like 10 minutes of the show.
Don't want to be watching your face all day.
Yep, I'm a professional.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So Orlando was asking me, just send me a message. Orlando, there are no technical difficulties. We are getting started a couple minutes late, which is on time for us recently. So, but yeah, we are ready to roll. It's going to be a great show tonight, man. We got a bunch of quarter 2 results announced, money, subscribers. So lots of stuff to talk about there. Sprint introduced some tiered service plans. You can spend $12 a month to basically get unlimited social media usage. But they're creating a monster that we've been trying to avoid with net neutrality for a long time. So we'll jump into that. Verizon is really pissing off the FCC with their throttling of their unlimited data users. The U.S. Senate is saying that wireless customers are the victims of cramming, and that this is a bigger deal than it actually than we've been aware of for a long time. Motorola is working on a Nexus phablet, and the X Plus One leaked out. OnePlus is working on a watch. Hangouts finally got added to apps for business. So a lot to talk about. Let's jump into some quarter 2 numbers and results for the second quarter, 2014. First things, what do we got first on the list? Huawei and Lenovo put up some big numbers. So they are, if I'm not mistaken, Huawei and Lenovo are the number 3 and 4 smartphone manufacturers in the world.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Behind,
Everybody lost market share except for the two of them, and I think Apple gained like a point.
yep.
Like I
It,
think they
well,
went 14.9 to
it
15%.
de- it depends on which study you're looking at because we had
Yeah.
two, IDC, and then God, what was the other one? Strategy. I can't remember. I just heard it this morning. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
the one this morning showed that Xiaomi is actually number 3 worldwide behind Samsung and Apple.
yes. Yeah. They grew like crazy. They went from I think it was like 4 million units shipped last year to 15 million this year.
Yep. Is that year or quarter?
Uh, I don't. I think it was year. I think they were all doing year over year. So as of quarter
Okay.
two.
So that's probably
God,
why.
I have to go look at it again. Hold on, because I don't want to be wrong on that.
But that's huge. So
But
you're saying that Xiaomi has jumped to the number 3 spot?
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
came
that's
out this morning because Android has 85% market share now, and Windows Line has like 2.7 or something.
yeah, it's
See,
rough.
I read earlier today that they were the number 5 spot behind
Yeah,
Lenovo and Huawei. So
it always depends on what you're looking at, like what study it is, because some of them they get their data differently than others.
Yeah, see the IDC one shows Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Lenovo, and LG in that order.
Yep.
And then I got to look up the one that I did this morning too. Give me a minute. Just keep talking about it.
Yeah, because even LG went down, but it wasn't a whole lot. I think Samsung had the biggest decline, but I mean they're still so far out ahead that it
Yeah,
didn't really
Samsung
make
lost
a
a
difference.
lot. It was
And their
pretty
profits
surprising.
show it. Was
yep.
it like 7%? I think 32 to
Yes,
25%.
it was 7 or 8%. It was significant.
It is more than most of these other guys have total.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Apple lost almost 2%. It was like 1.8. They shipped
Okay.
like they shipped like 2 or 3 million more units than they did the same time last year, but
Yeah,
they're not keeping up with the growth of the market, is what it is.
units shipped. Samsung was actually the only one that went down year over year. They actually shipped less this year than they did last year, which
Yep,
I thought was surprising, especially. Well, this is only smartphones, right? It didn't count tablets.
Yeah, it's
correct.
just smartphones.
Yeah, because I'm like they made a whole lot more tablets this year, so I was expecting them to ship more. But smartphones, I guess, is about the same amount right now. that you made last year.
Man, my computer's tanking. I'm sorry, it's taking me forever.
No, it's all right, man. We'll get to it. But Samsung's profit dropped 31%. Their profit from their smartphone division, from their mobile division, dropped 15%.
Yeah.
So not only are they losing market share, they're also losing money, which, they can't say the writing wasn't on the wall.
One of their VPs or SVPs, they sounded really worried about it. They're saying that there's going to be a couple more devices coming out, like this year, flagships. One with that's not plastic, which we're pretty sure is the Galaxy Alpha.
The Alpha, yeah.
Yep.
Which is supposed to be August, I think, 14th now. It was supposed to be the 3rd, but they changed it this morning. And then the Note 4 should be September 3rd.
And Samsung is still, they're still selling pretty well here in the U.S., but in Asia, man, between Xiaomi, Huawei, Meizu, ZTE, and even Oppo, they're really losing ground overseas. They got to do something to not. It's not so much about innovation at this point. It's about cost. When you can get a Xiaomi or an Oppo device for the equivalent of $250 to $300 and a Samsung high-end device is like $600.
I don't even know if it's just like over there, because I know over here like the Moto G is super popular. I see a ton of people, like people like us that are using the Moto G instead of a flagship device. I don't know if people are gonna buy that over like the Galaxy Core 2 or even the Galaxy Avant that they just picked up, that T-Mobile just picked up this week, and some of the other stuff like that. Because their low-end devices they're really not that good spec-wise, which is kind of surprising because their flagships are like the highest spec most of the time.
Yep. Yeah. So it is the quarter. So this is specifically for quarter 2, and I guess the comparisons are just from quarter 2 this year to quarter 2 last year. So yeah, Samsung went from 32% last year of market share to 25% this year.
It's a massive drop.
Yeah, a third of all Android, just smartphones in general, shipped down to a fifth. So they're still number 1, but
yeah, but their lead is shrinking.
That's a big drop.
Yeah,
especially given how much stuff they pump out.
And LG doesn't even have 7%. I think they're like 5 or 4.9 or something like that.
Yeah, LG's at 4.9 now.
Yeah. Because Huawei and Lenovo are even ahead of them, which is kind of surprising, seeing as, LG is actually in the U.S., but then those two are over in China, which they have more smartphones over there than we have people. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're the number 1 market for smartphones now.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw on the one I wrote yesterday, I think China Mobile is like 780 million subscribers or something.
Yeah. Twice the size of the U.S.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
Like I don't think I really put together those numbers in my head until then.
Because here, if you add up all 4 carriers, it's around 300, about 350 million.
Yeah.
But that also counts for some people might have a tablet on their line as well as a smartphone.
Yeah, it's just lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we say all this not to bash Samsung. It's just the numbers. The writings, like I said, the writings on the wall. They've got to do something to turn things around.
It's really just surprising, especially with all the marketing they're doing, because the ads they've been putting out, I actually really like them. Of course, especially the ones where they're bashing Apple. Those are always my favorite. But
right.
It's not like they're really doing anything different, marketing wise, or even announcing. Well, they've announced some new stuff like the Tab S. That was something that's kind of completely new, because it's really their first Super AMOLED tablet. They had AMOLED before, like the original Galaxy Tab, but they haven't had anything since then.
Yeah, I think people are just getting sick of the same old thing. I think it was the same thing like with Apple. Apple kicked it off really well, and then a couple of years later, people just stopped caring about them because everybody else started doing different stuff.
Yeah, I think it's even the same thing with HTC, because like in 2011, they just kept releasing the same device like every few weeks, but with a little bit of a change. And since then, they haven't really made any money.
Bingo.
So, Sony's mobile division is also not doing so well. Sony as a company is doing all right. Their smartphone division and their TV division lost money.
Yeah, they lose money every quarter though.
Yeah. But Sony as a whole is still making money. So that's let's see.
It's thanks to their games and movie division.
I was
So
gonna say, just
PS4, 22 Jump Street, stuff like that.
keep that gaming division up, Sony.
Yeah.
And their
Please.
movies,
Keeping
man.
them afloat. Yep, the movies too.
A couple of
Absolutely.
summer blockbusters, and that'll make their year. So
Yeah.
so they're still doing all right. Sprint actually. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Sony needs to stop releasing the same crap. This is the same conversation we had 2 minutes ago.
That's true.
Yeah, but
And-
Sony doesn't get as much flack for it as Samsung does. I don't know why. I don't know
I
if it's
think because they're not as
exist.
popular.
Yeah, they don't really exist over here.
Yeah, they don't have as big of a stake.
I mean, the Z2 versus Z1 specs are almost identical, and now the Z3 specs versus the two of them are almost identical. In fact, the Z3 is supposed to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think people get pissed off at Samsung because they're the clear market leader, and when they do nothing, the rest of the industry is stuck. It goes right back to Apple not implementing NFC and all this other crap. We're never going to get this stuff as a real standard until they finally do it. And that's what pisses people off, is when the market leader doesn't do that stuff.
Yep.
So Sony, I mean, I hate to say it, but nobody cares.
not in the U.S.
I really would love to care, but they don't let me. So
I don't really like their design. I mean, it's so boxy. It doesn't feel comfortable in the hand, like for me anyways, with like the Z1S and the Xperia Z. I haven't used the Z2 because it's really not over here except for unlocked.
exactly.
But I didn't really like them because, holding them in the hand and using it, because I like to use my phone one-handed, and it's a little bit harder with the, Sony's devices. Although the Z3, it looks like the sides are going to be curved now, so it might be a little bit more comfortable.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see them innovate with that a bit with their upcoming devices. And I say innovate, but I mean kind of tweak that a little bit. The Z2 was a lot better than the Z1 to hold in your hand, and spec-wise it was great. It was water and dust resistant. That was kind of a deal breaker for some people. So if they can round the back just a little bit like the G3, even a bigger screen, still going to feel good when you hold it.
Yeah, instead of going smaller.
Yep.
The Z2 is 5.2 and the Z3 is supposed to be 5.15. Although I do really like the dedicated camera button on there that they have on the lower right side of it. I don't know if I'm pretty sure it's on the Z2. I know it was on the Z1S and the Xperia Z.
Yeah, you gotta have it to use the camera underwater.
Yep.
But we talked about this when I think when the Note 4 came out. Maybe when we were talking about the G2 last year. But that we had kind of hit the wall for screen size, and we were going to start seeing those screen sizes get smaller.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised to see the Z3 shrink a little bit.
If not the screen sizes, I think we're going to see smaller bezels, which we see with Motorola and LG. We saw it for a minute with Samsung, because the S5 is actually bigger than the S4.
Yep.
Not by much, but it is bigger. And I think the S4 was the same size as the S3, but it was
it was a hair bigger.
Yeah, the S3 was 4.8 inches. The S4 or the
I mean,
S4
with the bezels and stuff.
Oh, the actual.
Yeah, the
I
actual
don't know the exact millimeters.
Yeah,
I think it was like a hair bigger, but not.
It was a little bit taller.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I was happy to see Sprint's making money. I'm not against Sprint. I'm not a big proponent of Sprint either, but they are making money, which was nice to see. They haven't done that in a good long while. So their net income ended up being just $23 million, but they still had a net income instead of a net loss. They did lose 220,000 customers.
That might have been supposed to be 23 billion because that means they would have made more money than they brought in. Wait, you said operating profit?
No, operating income was 519 million.
Okay, I get
So
that stuff mixed up.
I'm just reading off the article that we got on the site here.
Yeah.
So operating income was 519, net income. You mean their net profit of 23 million?
Yeah, income. Okay, yeah. I want to make sure I didn't make a typo in there because I wrote it. Yeah, operating income 519 million and net income was 23 million.
So yeah, so they're making a little bit of money, even while they're still losing some customers. But they're
Yeah,
that's why I say they're treading
lost.
water.
They lost a lot less this quarter than they have the last few quarters. I think Q1 was like 500,000 they lost or something like that. I had to look back at their press release, but it was like
Yeah.
around 500 something thousand.
And considering how much they're supposed to be overhauling their network, it's pretty impressive to see that they even made that 23 million, you know?
Yeah.
Right, right.
And another thing that was interesting to me was their ARPU, the average revenue per user. It dropped in postpaid, but it went up in prepaid by like $1 on each side. So that, I mean, I guess that means more people are going prepaid now on Virgin and Boost Mobile.
And
Hmm.
more prepaid customers are using smartphones.
That too.
So you're seeing an uptick in data usage on their prepaid network.
Because they
Which,
have 29 million on postpaid plans, 14 on prepaid, and then about almost 9 million on wholesale and affiliate plans. So that's probably like MVNOs and stuff, I guess.
Yep.
and so they've got a total now of 53 million
Yep.
customers. Which
53 and some change.
puts them in third place behind, obviously Verizon and AT&T.
Yeah, they're
We're
over
still,
100 million.
yeah, I mean they're making money hand over fist, but
Yeah.
their growth has slowed down even while they're turning billion-dollar profits every quarter.
Well, Verizon's didn't go down that much because they started really pushing tablets. I think they actually put on like almost 1 million just in tablets. It was like 970 something thousand tablets they added.
I mean, okay, cool.
I mean,
They're going to
it's
count
still
that as
money to,
postpaid
yeah,
subscribers, right?
yeah, it's still money coming in the door for them.
Yep, yep. And then T-Mobile is just spanking the snot out of everybody. It's great. I love seeing this because last quarter they added, over 1 million customers.
2.4.
Yep, but they didn't make money because they were buying out
They lost like
ETFs and
180,000, which made me surprised when what they actually made a pretty decent profit this quarter.
yep. So this
Because they're
quarter they
still,
added 1.5 million customers, which was more than the other three combined, and they made a profit of $391 million. So good on you, T-Mobile. Man, that's so I'm excited to see that because for carriers, they're the one that I'm most excited about. They're bringing the most change, the most. They're obviously still in it to make money, but they're doing things that are good for consumers as well, which I can't really say for, at least for Verizon and AT&T.
yeah, they also announced in their press release this morning that VoLTE is technically nationwide. It's just in like a few more cities, so they can technically say it's nationwide, but it's really not. And 700 megahertz, they've already started rolling it out or working on the towers and getting it ready for fall launch. And they're test driving some devices with 700 megahertz bands in there now. So hopefully, whatever we see in the fall, we'll have the 700 megahertz, band in there because that's going to be good for indoor signal, at least in the cities that it's going to be in.
Yep, that's huge. So they're taking this money that they're making and they're turning around and investing it in their network, which is what, it's still obviously the biggest complaint with T-Mobile.
Yep.
It works great in my city. It may not work great in yours.
It's probably the only complete with T-Mobile these days is coverage.
Right. So, I mean, Verizon has, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but they still got a bigger network, more coverage, but their data speeds are just garbage now.
Yeah. T-Mobile actually, in their press release this morning, also they put in like a graph showing the data speeds for all four carriers, and they're like 2.5 megabits per second ahead of Verizon, and then AT&T's behind them, and Sprint is behind them too. And it's kind of surprising, but I mean, I know T-Mobile's data speeds have gotten a lot better, especially with wideband LTE coming out.
And it depends on where they're testing that, because in my area, AT&T
Yeah.
is faster than Verizon.
I know T-Mobile gets their data from the speed test app. That's why it doesn't count towards your data now, so they can have you guys test as much as you want, and it doesn't count against you.
Right.
For me, AT&T is almost like neck and neck with T-Mobile. Like I have the Galaxy S5 active here right now, so I did some speed testing, and it was like 9 versus 10. So it's like almost the same for me at home.
Yep. So again, I mean, it's going to vary. Don't just take our word for it and say, oh yeah, T-Mobile's great, and then you find that there's no coverage where you live. But that's getting better.
That's what the test drive is for.
Yep. So, like I said, I'm excited to see that Sprint's making money, but I was not excited to see this garbage tiered plan that they rolled out yesterday. They announced.
Terrible.
I want Nick to talk about it because I know he has a big rant.
So Nick, start with that, man. Give us the details on that, and then we'll just tear it apart a little bit.
Oh lordy, let's see. So I liked your little spin on it before the show started, where we were talking about the whole thing. Basically, with these plans, let's see. I have to look at the article here to get the right pricing. So let's see. We have an unlimited plan, right? It has. It wasn't unlimited data, right? You have 20 texts and 20 voice minutes per month. So basically, don't text and don't use your phone as a phone. But you can pick one of your favorite social networking sites, except for Google+, because that apparently doesn't exist. So it's basically Facebook, Twitter. Sorry, it's so ridiculously funny. It's obnoxious. You have Instagram, and then I don't even know what to say. Like, who only uses those things on their phone? I don't know who the heck this would even fit. So you can pay an extra $10 a month to get all of those instead of just one, and then you can pay a little bit more to get a few more things. So basically, the max that this plan would come out to is about 28 bucks a month, and you'd get 2 gigs of data. The rest of it is basically just totally chopped down. I don't know what in the world they're even aiming this towards.
It's aimed towards like low income, like
It's
prepaid customers
because it's from Virgin Mobile, so it's basically aimed towards their current customers, because that's really who uses Virgin Mobile for the most part. Because their plans are normally like $30 a month.
Yeah, it's.
But you have to buy their phones. You can't just like get a Nexus 5 and put it on there.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah, but it's people that just want to use Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and that's it.
I know a bunch of people that'll do that. I mean, because as long as you have Wi-Fi, and when you're not at home, that's probably all some people are gonna do. Now us, on the other hand, we'll be on Google Plus all day. But
right.
But I think some people will buy into it, but I really hope they don't, because it's just net neutrality. It's like the complete opposite of T-Mobile's music freedom.
Yes, and the biggest problem here is what you were saying before, Jeremiah, is this is basically like cable channels on your phone. So you're basically paying for a package with, I suppose we could say, the basic channels, and that's all you get access to, nothing else. It's just
they've created a social media channel. They've created a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They've created a social media channel, and so now you can buy that social media package for your phone. And so if customers jump onto it, which unfortunately there's going to be a bunch of people that do. I don't know if it'll be enough to make a difference, but companies start paying attention to this, and now you've got not just Sprint getting on board with this. You've got other carriers taking the idea and running with it. And it's AT&T's tiered, sponsored data plans. And now you've got ESPN, or just a sports package. So you get NFL and NHL and MLB and ESPN. And that's it. And the problem that you run into is what happens to all the other sports apps? What happens to the other social networking apps? Not just Google Plus, but what about Snapchat and WhatsApp at this point? Or Kik. Those are messaging platforms, but they're social networks.
Yep.
And now they're squeezed out because Sprint is building specific packages and giving customers access to only certain apps, and now smaller companies can't break into that because they can't. One of the other things that was mentioned, I don't know if we put this in the article or not, but companies may start paying them for this kind of access, and that's where you get into big trouble, like AT&T's sponsored data.
Yep.
If Facebook is paying Sprint to make their data unlimited, now Facebook has an artificial leg up over any other social network that doesn't have the money to pay for that. And so the net neutrality, like the waters get really murky as far as competition, because now you can just buy it. ESPN can just pay to squeeze out any other smaller network, or they can sign exclusive deals, and now you can't get access to, can't get access to NFL or MLB or whatever sport you're into because ESPN has that locked down with your carrier, and so now your choices are limited. So on the surface, this looks like Sprint just trying to do something on a prepaid level and give people access to something for a cheaper cost. But they're creating a monster. They're creating cable channels, on the internet. That's what we've been trying to avoid. That's why we've been fighting net neutrality, the net neutrality rules, and trying to get that really solidified. So it's a nightmare, man.
What I'm wondering is how they're, keeping you on just like Facebook or just on Twitter or on all three of those. Because I know with T-Mobile, when they announced Music Freedom, they're actually going by the data that's coming onto their towers. And they can tell what app you're using from the data that's hitting it.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if that's how they're going to lock it down instead of actually on your device. Because then if you're on Wi-Fi, you should be able to use any app you want. And if you're like me and you're always at home on Wi-Fi, it doesn't really matter.
It's probably packet filtering. They probably just look at the packets, see where they're going to. What's going to be interesting there, you have two things, okay? You have, all these outside links. So how many people on Facebook or whatever post a link to something, and now you can't look at the link because you can only go to Facebook.
Or you can look at the link, but they charge you out the nose for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about Twitter when you want to use a different Twitter client?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
Right.
the idea is just so bad. And then what do you do if you need to get a hold of somebody? What, you got to message them? You got 20 messages. I'm sure 20 messages all month they're going to be like, please don't text me. Get a hold of me on Facebook.
Right,
That's going to be all 20 messages every single month.
I wonder if Facebook Messenger is included because you can't message through the Facebook app now. They're pushing you to the messaging app.
I'm sure it is because it's still Facebook traffic. It's
I mean,
probably just anything going to Facebook.com.
Because if it's not, that's really going to suck.
The other thing that I wonder that I just thought about, will it allow ads through?
Oh yeah, probably will.
That's a great question. So now your limited data is getting eaten up by ads that are getting pushed through, or will those get blocked because they're not that kind of traffic?
Because they're from another domain. I don't know.
Yeah.
This whole thing is
I
very.
have a feeling that if ads get blocked, that Twitter and Facebook are not going to be happy, and they're going to start fighting Sprint for it too.
Oh, of course.
I mean that's all their money right there, and I think Facebook just hit a record Q2 as well for ads and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I believe it.
Yeah, this whole thing is a nightmare waiting to happen. I can only hope that it doesn't catch on, or that the FCC puts a squash on it before, or just generally make some changes to net neutrality before this can really catch on, because it's not going to be good.
Yeah, hopefully Tom Wheeler is working on a letter for them too.
Right. So that's a fantastic segue. So Verizon is really ticking off the FCC with their throttling of their unlimited data users, to the point that Wheeler drafted a letter and sent it to Verizon's CEO, Dan Mead. So if you're not familiar with this, I don't remember if we talked about it last week or not. If you have an unlimited data plan with Verizon, they're going to throttle you.
Yeah, I think this came out over the weekend.
Yep. So
I know I wrote it up. I just don't remember when it happened. But basically, if you hit, they say the top 5% is 4.7 gigs, which I still don't believe that. But whatever they want to say, I guess,
Yeah,
because they're not
that's
providing us
crazy.
the data. I see people posting on Google Plus where they've used over 100, 150 gigs a month. So.
And those are the people that Verizon's targeting. So
Yep.
if you have an unlimited data plan and you're not in a contract currently,
Which is probably everybody.
Yeah, so it's specifically going after people that are holding on to their unlimited data plan and either buying phones at full retail or buying phones, on Craigslist or eBay and taking them to Verizon or just activating them on the website. So if you have an unlimited data plan, you're not in contract, you use more than 4.7 gigabytes of data per month, that puts you in the top 5% of data users on Verizon's network. They reserve the right to throttle you on a specific tower at a time if that tower if the tower's traffic is heavy, so that your data usage is not interfering with other customers that have a tiered data plan. And that's the thing that is really just not okay about this, is they're specifically targeting those unlimited data users. If you have a tiered data plan, even if you use more than 4.7 gigabytes a month and you fall squarely into that 5%, top 5% of users, they're still going to throttle you. They reserve the right to throttle you for up to 2 billing cycles. So they could throttle you for 2 billing cycles, let you go for a day, and then throttle you again. So the whole thing is just really fishy. They're squeezing out their unlimited data customers, and
I see both sides of it. Like I see I guess I could say Verizon side. It's because their network is so saturated. That's why the speeds are so bad right now. That's why they rolled out XLTE, which was good for a while, but lately it's been back to what it was before XLTE came out, at least over here. So, getting those unlimited people off of unlimited and onto tiered data means there's going to be more bandwidth, most likely. So I can see that side, but then the other side, where those people unlimited data, I mean, they're still paying for it. I mean, they're, not signing new contracts and stuff. They're buying their phones outright. They should be able to keep it. I mean, AT&T's been throttling for how many years on their unlimited plans, and FCC hasn't gone after them.
And
I think it's the way they're doing it, though. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably.
AT&T doesn't carry it over to the next billing cycle, whereas Verizon, it seems to me like Verizon can basically do it forever.
Yeah, because AT&T, I think, is after 3 gigs or maybe 5 gigs. I think it's 3.
Yeah, it's something like that, 3 to 5.
It's really low, though. But if you go over that, they'll throttle you to the end of your billing cycle. And then
Yeah, basically, if you're just using your phone, you're not going to hit it.
Yeah, just like when with T-Mobile's plans, not the truly unlimited $80 one, but the other ones. Once you go over your cap, you're throttled until your billing cycle is over, and then you're back to normal.
Yep.
My problem with it is that I understand that most of their really heavy users have unlimited data plans. But you made a promise years ago to honor that and let people keep it. And now you're interfering with that. The other side, the other issue that I have with it is there are really high-end, really high data users on tiered plans that have 10, 20 gig plans. On a family share plan, you got 5 people that are sharing data and all using maybe only 1 or 2 gigs a month, but maybe you got somebody who's using 5 or 6, and everybody else is using a half a gig or 1. Whatever. There's other people that are on tiered data plans that are also contributing to their network congestion, and you're making your unlimited data customers suffer for it. Fix your network. You've got network issues. Fix your network. They're still turning record profits. They're still making 28, 30 cents on the dollar is profit. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not
which
like they're
area?
running out of money or anything. They have plenty of money to invest in their network. 'Cause
Yeah.
I haven't been to NYC, but I know a lot of people say that Verizon's pretty bad down there, and that T-Mobile is actually as good as AT&T is over there, and Verizon is pretty much non-existent down there. I haven't been there, so I don't really know, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, in most places in Orlando, I get between 3 and 6 megs a second on LTE and Verizon anymore.
Yeah, I haven't used a Verizon device since probably a few weeks now, but I should have one coming soon, so I'll have to see how it works. But last
Yeah,
time I used it, LTE started off great when it first launched, but a few weeks later, it was back to the way it normally was,
yeah.
6,
It's
maybe 10.
I I've got a Verizon hotspot for work that has XLTE, but I don't think I've seen anywhere here that has that. I always check it every now and then too, and I haven't seen it pop on. But there's only one spot that I can think of that has good data speed still from Verizon here.
Because I know, I mean, downtown, but pretty much everybody's non-existent. Because I was down there with the Amazon Fire Phone last Friday. I was doing some speed tests while I was, taking pictures for the review and stuff. I was getting like 2 to 3, and then I pulled out the G3 and did it on T-Mobile, and it was like 25, 30. It was crazy.
Yep. Now, what I'm wondering, and what Frankie just posted, is the corporate accounts. So, do you think that they're really going to go as far as to piss off their corporate users and throttle them too, or no? Because I can't really see that going over well.
I don't know how many are on there because my old job, which was at University of Michigan in the ITS, I know a lot of them had they had unlimited, but when they all upgraded, they got upgraded to like the 2 gig plans. Like when I first signed up over there, they all got Droid Access, so they got unlimited data. But now they're all when I last worked over there like 2 years ago, they were on Droid Bionics and Galaxy Nexuses, and they all got put on
Hmm.
2 gig plans. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, if they're at work, Wi-Fi is plenty because it was like 100 megs at work. So
Yeah, and I know for us at work, we all have the unlimited plans with Verizon, and that's paramount because most of us work in the field all day. We need
yeah,
that unlimited connection. Like I half the week, if not more, I'm on my laptop remoted into my system, and I guarantee you I suck down the gigs every month. So
And
it'll be
I mean,
real interesting to see if they try to throttle corporate customers.
well, they're gonna get a whole lot more money.
It's not gonna be good, I'll tell you what.
yeah, and I didn't see if this was specifically for consumer plans.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
heard anything saying yay or nay towards corporate accounts for Verizon. AT&T, they've been throttling since I think like 2012 or something. They've
Yeah, and
been
I haven't
throttling for a
either.
while.
That's why I'm wondering.
yeah,
Well, you'll see in October.
yeah. So this is all supposed to start October 1st. Once it, unless the FCC puts a stop to it. Tom Wheeler was pissed, man. He was really.
Yeah.
He called them out and said, basically said to them, you don't have the right to do this. You can't even treat it as quote unquote reasonable network management, which is an
Good.
excuse that Verizon has used in the past. Because he said, Tom Wheeler said, what this is you're just squeezing your customers to try and increase revenue, and you can't use that reasonable network management excuse to increase forms of revenue. You can only use that to manage your network, and this is not trying to manage your network. You're targeting your unlimited data users. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But I was, on the one hand, I was really amused that they were called on their BS, but on the other hand,
It's about
it's a
time.
letter. Well, it's a letter from the FCC. Like,
But it's also
Verizon's,
about time.
yeah, but is it really going to make a difference? It's a letter. Is Verizon just going to shrug it off and be like, well, whatever?
Verizon can just buy them out.
That's true. That's
Probably
true.
with all the money they made today only.
Drop a couple $100,000 in the FCC's back pocket so Tom Wheeler gets a cut and call it a day.
Oh man.
That's like all they made today.
I'm not saying politicians are corrupt, but politicians are corrupt. Moving
I
on.
was gonna say, quit being nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Government officials, though, are also worried about cramming. So I wrote an article about this earlier in the week, and then Corey posted this one about the Senate, specifically focusing on this cramming practice. T-Mobile just settled a lawsuit for this that was based around premium SMS charges. If you're not familiar with what cramming is, it's adding extra charges to your bill without your consent. So in some way that maybe kind of looks like you consented, like premium SMS, you really don't know how you got signed up for it. Something you did probably signed you up for it, but you don't know how. It's not clear in any kind of fine print. You just did something, and now you're getting $10, $15 a month premium SMS charges. T-Mobile has stopped working with any premium SMS companies. Verizon gives you the option to block it on your account, so even like your kids and stuff can't get access to any of it. A lot of times it's little things like ringback tones or ringtones or 99-cent games from the Verizon App Store, like that kind of stuff that just shows up on your bill and you really don't know how. And not specifically Verizon, but all of them. The Senate is saying that this is a bigger issue than just, like I said, T-Mobile just settled that lawsuit. So there's more going on that that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times, because I have 5 accounts on my line. We have my wife and her family on the plan, and I can't tell you how many times over the past couple of years I had to call in and say, "Oh, take that $10 charge off of here," because somebody put their phone number in some website, and ends up signing you up for $10 a month for some random, I don't know, ringtone, like you said, whatever. It's frustrating, and it was nice for them to finally give me the option to just block all that crap.
Yep, and the FTC released a list of 5 kind of bullet points, like common sense things that these carriers should be doing to prevent cramming. And some of it was like, get the customer's consent before you bill them, before you charge them for something. That's a no-brainer. But other things like making it very clear, not just little tiny fine print in the bottom of the advertisement, but making it very clear when your customers are signing up for some subscription service or something they're going to have to pay for, even just one time. You have to make that clear. So that's it's a now that the FTC smacked T-Mobile's hand about it, charged them a bunch of money, and now released this 5-point list of what to do. It's gone up to a Senate level, and there's some lawmakers that are taking a look at it. So that's pretty interesting there too. I don't know. I didn't see it a whole lot when I was working in the mobile industry, but it did happen. And sometimes it was, Nick, like you said, the majority of the time it was put your phone number in a random website to get a free ringtone, and what they don't tell you is you're getting charged for it. The majority of the time it wasn't the carriers themselves. It was these third-party companies. But because the charge shows up on your cell phone bill, people are taking that to mean that it's your carrier. So we'll see how that pans out. But so I'm looking to see what kind of Q&A we've got. iPhone and Samsung. iPhone and Samsung. Nope, I'm not worried about having a discussion about the iPhone 6. Let's jump into a little bit of hardware. Motorola is working on a 5.9-inch Nexus phablet. So you guys excited about this at all? Do you care?
I was excited that it was Motorola, but the size, I don't know. I was listening to Andre Essentials podcast earlier today, and they were like, well, what if somebody just made a typo and it's really 4.9? I think that would make a lot of people happy.
That would. And that would also fall more in line with the Nexus line.
Because the Nexus 5 is 4.96, I believe. But the other thing that's strange is that active display and touchless control are supposed to be going to this Nexus. And typically, like features that the OEMs have made don't go to the Nexus, like with LG and Samsung and even HTC. Like you didn't see knock on the Nexus 5. I mean, it was enabled through kernels and stuff, but it wasn't actually like launched on the device. You had to go do some hackery and stuff to get it on there. So that's what's making me not think that it's completely true. But we have seen Motorola's name in the issue tracker along with the Shamu code name. So they're working on some kind of Nexus device. I don't know where they got the 5.9 from though.
And I could see Motorola working on a 5.9-inch phablet, and releasing that under the Motorola name, not necessarily under the Nexus name.
I can see it under Nexus, but not as the only Nexus like smartphone. I maybe have like a, because I think LG was supposed to be making a 5.2-inch Nexus this year as well. So have both of those as well as the 8.9 from HTC. And there you go. You got 3 sizes right there that everybody will be happy with.
Yeah, and that could work. And that's the point of the Nexus line, right? Is it's supposed to be reference devices. And a 5.9-inch device is pushing the boundaries. It's not a reference device. It's way too big for the majority of people.
Unless Google has like some, I don't know, some other stuff up their sleeves with the Android L to like work better on bigger like screens like phablets and stuff. I don't know if that's really gonna happen. I know a lot of people want it. I don't want something that big. I mean, it's part of the reason why I don't have the OnePlus One now. But I just want a Motorola Nexus with a big battery in there, and I'll be happy.
The OnePlus One is my limit. I couldn't go any bigger. So even a 5.9-inch device with no bezel whatsoever is going to be too big. So I'm hoping I'm hoping we do get a Motorola Nexus device, but not this one.
Yeah, I've been looking for like a Motorola Nexus Max since like the Galaxy Nexus days.
And didn't we see something about the Motorola Max?
Yep, Moto Max was trademarked at the patent office this week. So I don't know if that's going to be something coming out this year. Probably not. But hopefully that means no more, Max devices exclusive to Verizon, because
that would be nice.
Thing I hated about that. So I wanted the Droid Max so bad, but I didn't want to go to Verizon.
Nah.
Because no LTE over here for me.
I'd love it if Lenovo dropped a Moto Max device on us. On multiple carriers, that'd be awesome.
I'm wondering why that deal hasn't been approved yet. It's kind of surprising. I mean, we're approaching 8 months now since it was announced, because it was in January.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And usually, I mean, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't approve it, because it's not like, I mean, it is a competitor buying a competitor, but kind of, sort of, because Motorola's not in China and Lenovo is not in everywhere else that Motorola is.
Yeah, it's flying under the radar. We haven't heard anything about that one way or the other. So I have to imagine at some point it will be, but maybe they're digging more into it because they're an Asian company. I don't know.
And there is
going on there.
There's something that Punet Sony said today. He's the product guy over at Motorola. Is that their shipments went up 30% over last quarter, Q2 versus Q1, and it more than doubled from Q2 of last year. So they're doing good stuff, and I'm pretty sure the Moto G is a big part of that, since they have been saying that's their best-selling device of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe they'll add this this new 5.9-inch Nexus phablet. I feel like Shamu is a great name for it if it's going to be almost 6 inches. Now,
imagine a Moto G Max.
Moto G with a battery that would last 4 or 5 days.
For like $250.
Charge it once a week.
Yep.
It'll be like those old Nokia devices.
Good stuff.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, that we'll keep you posted on what happens with that. Now let's just kind of feed the hype beast a little bit and think about a Nexus 6 with a close to a 6-inch screen. So we can make that argument, right? Okay, let's leave it alone.
Hey, it would make sense. I've said it. The number is the size of the screen.
Right? Yep, yep. Um,
Well, the
now,
Nexus One wasn't.
eh, that's true. That's true.
Shut your face.
But as when we're still talking about Nexus, Frankie had like a comment about he'd like to see an HTC Nexus with the M8 design and hardware. I think, oh, it wasn't like a leak, but it was a mock-up that Android Police did, but it looked a lot like a Nexus 7, but with like a 4:3 aspect ratio instead of 16:10, I think, is what the Nexus 7 is now.
Weird. Okay.
I mean, I'd love to see the front-facing speakers because nobody's doing it on tablets except for Nvidia on their Shield tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Even Samsung took it off of the front and put it on the sides now. I don't know why. Wish they would have kept it on the front.
Yeah.
But there's that.
So HTC is still working on the tablet, but it's not a.
Yeah, they're working on it. They're working on a Nexus tablet and 2 other tablets. Their rumor was 3 tablets and 1 is a Nexus. So there's probably only one that looks just like a Nexus, but Synth 6.0 on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see, I just want HTC to bring that new butterfly outside of Japan.
Yeah, the Butterfly J.
Has
a real
freaking HTC. Yeah, it has a real everything.
I want the one E8 to come out of like the emerging markets as well, because that one is a really nice looking phone. It looks like the Droid DNA, but with all the one features, but there is a 13 megapixel camera on the back, even with the second camera too.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
The black and gold one looks really nice to me because it's like a matte finish.
Nice. I've only seen the red one. I have to go look that up.
So the other interesting note with this Motorola phablet rumor, Nexus phablet rumor, was that Android Silver is getting canned, and the Nexus line is being booted back up. So originally we had heard that the Android Silver program was in 2015 going to be replacing the Nexus line. But now, and I forget the guy's name, I don't know if we put it in the post, the guy who was spearheading Android Silver is on his way out from
I did see that.
Google.
I don't remember his name, though.
Arroyo? Starts with a A-R-O something. I just don't remember seeing it here. But I thought that was really interesting. So Google is having to kind of scramble and fire up the Nexus program again, because we'll see a Nexus device in November, if we're going to get one, right?
Pretty much.
We'll probably see one leak out when they put up the L statue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So they'll put somebody there in the video with the Nexus.
Exactly.
If we're keeping with tradition, yeah.
Or they may just, if I were Google, I would just put somebody out there with like a Galaxy Nexus and make everybody think that's the new one.
Oh my gosh.
It's like even the Nexus One or something.
Even like the Nexus One.
Oh my gosh.
That would be great.
So yeah, I'm wondering just with the future of the Nexus line. Okay, so we got Project Aura next year. It's supposed to be like Q1, maybe Q2, from what it seems like in the timeline. So does that mean that's going to be a Nexus device, or I'm wondering what they're going to do with that, if they're going to try to brand that separately, because I always thought that was going to be part of Silver.
I think it's still going to be in beta for a while, isn't it? After it like initially comes out in Q2, I think is what I last heard.
They were supposed to have a developer preview of the hardware with the next version of Android supporting modular devices in January, I think was the target. That was a developer preview. The public beta, I think, was supposed to be in Q2.
Now, I'm wondering if maybe Aura is going to be like something alongside the Nexus line, because Nexus is still reference devices. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere. It may get renamed to something else later on. But I don't know if Project Aura can really be a reference device, especially not anytime soon.
I don't know. It would just be so cool to see them launch Aura, and then every couple of months they drop new modules on the Google Play Store or something.
Well, I think they're already going to do that, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not Google, but like all the manufacturers they're working with.
Yeah, I mean the idea was to have a marketplace. I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
use the Play Store, just roll that into all the Nexus stuff. It seems like it
Yeah.
works so perfectly.
Well, after the Nexus 4, it did.
Right, right.
But yeah, I wouldn't. It'd be hard to see them not use the Google Play Store.
Sure.
I mean, especially since Google's keeping that part of Motorola at Google.
Yep. Yeah, and they even used it for Wear when Wear came out. So.
Yep.
And I feel like we've used this argument before when we've been talking about the Nexus line disappearing. But Google is always going to have employees that are working on Android that need devices to develop on. Yep. And they're not going to easily get that from an OEM flagship device that's available at Verizon or AT&T.
Yeah,
so it still makes sense for them to partner with whatever manufacturer. Maybe it's another HTC device, maybe it's Lenovo or Xiaomi moving forward. Who knows? But it still makes sense to them, or it makes sense for them to partner with an OEM to make those, and then why not just throw it on the Play Store? And if you order one, you get it.
Well, if it's Xiaomi, we're gonna know why they're doing it with them.
Yeah.
Hugo Barra.
Xiaomi's gonna have to overcome those Apple copycat allegations before Google will jump on that, though, right?
Well, that, and they gotta stop altering, order numbers, sale numbers.
You mentioned that earlier today in our chat too.
Yeah, they altered the numbers of the Redmi Note 2 or Note something that they're selling. They altered the number of sales.
Fishy.
Yeah, Taiwan's getting them for it.
Yep. You're not going to be able to hide that stuff. If you're fudging numbers, it'll come out.
Yep.
The Moto X Plus 1 popped up as well. That came out this week in a leak with, like 4 or 5 photos? 6 photos?
I didn't even look at the leak.
We got to see the front, the back, a slick, like, kind of light wood color back. The like a silver or aluminum trim around the outside edge, a giant like porthole looking camera.
Yeah, it's weird looking. Looks like
some
boat.
Yeah, it really does, exactly.
Especially with the wood.
Yep. So this device is ugly.
And it's huge too.
Yeah. So
why did they do that?
It's like super tall compared to the Moto X.
I don't like one of the biggest deals of the Moto X is it was a small phone with a big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't really say it was big, but it was like the size everybody wanted it to be.
Well, I mean,
the rumors for the X Plus One is 5.2, which Motorola does do small bezels as well. So I'm guessing probably about the size of the G2, because that's 5.2 as well with small bezels. But I don't know if that's really confirmed, obviously.
I just meant something physically. It's only a little bit bigger than an iPhone 5, but it's more than a half an inch bigger screen on the original X. That was my point, because I know I had some people that got it because of that, because they didn't want an iPhone, but they didn't want a G2 or whatever because it's too big.
Yeah, they didn't want a bigger device.
Exactly. So it just
part of the reason why
they're going to throw that away.
At the front, though, it looks just like a Moto E, but bigger, because the Moto E is like 4.3 inches, I think.
Yeah.
It's got the front-facing speakers that don't really look that nice. HTCs look a lot nicer.
Yep, and it's using the curved back that a lot of manufacturers have been, because it really does make it a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, Motorola did that last year, because they actually have, they use the step technology for their battery as well. Actually, they use LG's battery, so that's why they both use the same technology.
Makes sense.
So they can pack more battery in, smaller areas.
This leak is apparently a 5.1 inch display, so it's close enough to the 5.2 that we had originally heard rumored.
Yep.
The camera on the back looks like it has 2 small LEDs built into the ring around the camera.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Which kind of, conserves space, but it also makes for a big giant ring around the camera. So
And it also looks like the Motorola logo is actually a button, which we heard last year with the first
It
Moto X, is that
does look like that.
they were gonna use that button so you could do like different things like launch the camera or something like that, or even OK Google Now. But that never happened. It was just like a dimple, which I actually really liked on the back.
Yeah, and so maybe they built that in. Maybe it's just a dimple again that looks like a button. Who knows?
It could also be that you get removable backs like you have on the Moto G and E. So if you get a wood back and you get tired of it after a couple months, you can change it out.
Maybe it's the button to pop it off since it's concave.
Yeah, could be that too.
Could be.
Because the One Max had like a little switch on the side that popped off the back cover.
Yeah.
But like the top part and then the bottom part didn't pop off. It was just like the center to get to the SD card slot and the SIM card. It was weird.
That sounds like my old HTC G2. Had that little thing to flip off the metal back.
And you couldn't remove the battery either, I don't think. Maybe you could.
Not easily. Like it's not designed to be removed by the user.
It's the same thing with the Moto G and even the Ascend Mate 2. You can't. You can, but it's not recommended.
Yep. And other specs, I think we're looking at like 2 gigs of RAM and probably a Snapdragon 800 processor, which that's not a big deal because the Moto X didn't have performance issues. So.
And it's probably gonna have their X8 mobile computing, stuff. So it's gonna be probably really optimized, just like the Moto X was.
Yes, that they need to continue. They also need to continue finding cool new features like, the active display and even some of the like car stuff that they built into it was really cool and changed the way people use their devices. So.
Yeah, active display is still one of my favorite, features, probably from 2013. I really like knock-on, but I think I like active display even better. Just because I could just pick up my phone and see exactly what's there without actually, waking it up, and it doesn't light up the whole screen because it is AMOLED, so it, only lit up those individual pixels.
Yep. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that too. As some new rumors leak out, I really hope they do something with that aluminum band around the outside, man, because it just looks ugly. Even with a black back or a white back or a silver back, it looks hideous.
Maybe with Moto Maker you can change the color of that band.
Maybe that'd be cool.
On the Moto X you could change it, the accent, because mine was yellow for that, and the volume rocker and the power button was yellow as well.
Yep. So maybe you can do that on Moto Maker.
Probably can. But it won't be made in Texas.
Right, and that's the way it goes. So we kind of knew Lenovo was going to pull that, even if Google didn't. So
yep.
We did also see on a benchmark site the LG G3 with a Snapdragon 805 processor and LTE-A Category 6.
Yep, that's actually the name of it, LG G3 LTE Cat 6.
Yeah.
Because they announced it a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? Might have been last week. But I don't know why they just couldn't say LG G3 LTE like Samsung. Maybe that's why they didn't do it.
So this is probably a Korean-only model. That
yeah, it is.
Is it? Okay.
Absolutely.
It's just like Samsung. They released the OTA like a few months later with the processor we all wanted.
Yep. What else? Oh, OnePlus is working on a smartwatch.
Yeah, this I have a few things I want to say about it. One is the strap. So like on the G Watch, you have the strap here, but there's no battery in there. And the OnePlus, or the One Watch is what they're calling it, according to the leak, there's gonna be like a battery in here, a curved battery. And from the pictures, like the watch face looks a lot thinner, but it's circular like the Moto 360, but it looks a lot thinner than it does. Which if there's a battery in the strap, I'm guessing, or on OnePlus is gonna have to sell all the straps for it, with batteries in there and stuff. I don't know if they'll be able to be removable or what.
Which would make sense.
It's OLED with sapphire glass too.
Yeah.
So they're going all out with this thing. At least according to the drawing that BGR India had. Qi wireless technology for charging it. Titanium as the border. leather bands.
It's I find it interesting with the watch band with the battery in it because like you said, if that's the case and it is removable, then they would have to sell them, and it would actually make sense because I would assume the watch would take the same kind of pricing structure as the OnePlus One does, so it would probably be half the price of the other Android Wear watches out right now, and I guess the catch is in this way that if you want to replace the band, you have to buy it from them. So that's where they make their money. Just like with the OnePlus One, they're basically saying they're making their money from these removable backs that they're coming out with.
Yep, because I think the removable backs are what 20 and then 50 for like the premium one.
Yeah, it's 30 and 50 depending
Oh,
on the
30 and
material.
50. Yeah, but if they can put it at like 100 or even 150, I think it'll sell well. As long as they
Sure.
can get them out there so people can actually buy them. That's
Yeah,
the only thing that's gonna stop it from being successful.
yeah.
Because then you'll
I
have
hope.
smartwatch at like all different price points. Especially if the Moto 360 does come at where I think it's going to.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and so I'm kind of excited about the sapphire glass. That's way more important on
Yeah.
a watch than it is on your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, it is.
Because I mean, I don't wear a watch now, but when I used to, if I bought a cheap watch, scratched up in a couple of months at the most, you'd have scratches across the face of it. It's on your wrist all day.
Yep.
Yep.
Even like Gorilla Glass is not going to hold up as well as sapphire glass.
No. Alex, do you have a screen protector on your G Watch?
Nope.
No.
I haven't used a screen protector on like anything in price since like 2011.
I have not used a screen protector since my original Android phone in 2010. But my Gear got scratched to hell, and it took maybe a month before I saw scratches all over it. And I even got like two or three. I don't want to say too deep of scratches, but they were way deeper than I've had on any device. And it's right. It's like you said, Jeremiah. It's because it's on your wrist. You're putting your hand wherever. Even like getting your seatbelt. Sometimes you smack your hand against the side of the car or whatever, and if you have something this much bigger sitting on your wrist that you don't really think about, you're gonna hit on stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine now and I don't see any scratches yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed because I've hit this thing a couple of times, and there's no dings or anything on the body, and the screen protector I have on here is freaking phenomenal. It really is.
Like I've used the Galaxy Gear, Gear 2 Neo, and Gear Fit, but I didn't use them like that much, obviously,
Yeah.
because I had to return it to Samsung, so I only had it for about a week or two, like for each one. So I mean, you could scratch it up pretty well during that time, but I didn't really use it for that much. I mean,
Yeah,
probably
you
about a
don't
week
want to
or
try to
so.
do that anyway.
Yeah, especially on a device you got to return because you don't want to pay for the damage,
Yeah.
Nope, definitely don't. So
especially if you don't want to keep it.
I'd be excited to see OnePlus roll out a watch, a One watch.
Yep.
Uh,
I'm excited to see who else is going to do Android Wear this year because I know Asus and HTC are working on ones. Well, HTC kind of leaked theirs and said they didn't, but
Everybody should work on an Android Wear watch. If you're a watch
yeah,
manufacturer, you should work on that, and I would pay attention to what you're doing because I'm excited about
Sony
that.
Sony said they won't. They think their ecosystem is better. I don't know what they were smoking, but that's what they said.
Some good stuff.
Oh yeah,
Some bad
Pebble.
stuff. Change your mind.
I'd be interested to see if Pebble would do like their own regular Pebble and then like an Android Wear version because everybody loves Pebble, I guess for some reason. And if they come out with the Android Wear version, I think it would really boost Android Wear to like the market share and stuff.
And it would work really well too, because really for the
Yeah,
most part, you don't have a lot of animations, you don't have a lot of stuff going on the screen, and that's kind of the point. You don't want to have that, and I think that's why people like the Pebbles, because it was just simple.
And
yeah,
for
but
that reason, I don't think that they're going to mess with Android Wear. I think they'll keep doing
yeah,
what they're doing, and
that and
it'll work for them.
I think they want to keep with the e-ink display, which won't really look that good with Android Wear on it. I don't think.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it depends on which kind you use, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
because if it's just the
Um,
black and white one, I don't know about
Yeah.
that.
We saw Google Glass pop up in the news again this week too, which we haven't seen a lot of since Android Wear was announced.
Yeah.
I think there was a Glass update just before I/O, and that was about it. But this was interesting to me, more so for kind of like a broader scope. But the Department of Cardiothoracic Surgery at Stanford University Medical Center is going to start using Glass. Through Crowd Optics, which they're a part of Google's Glass at Work program. So another medical center is picking up Glass, and I think that this is the direction that we're going to see Glass go in specific kind of niche, verticals, doctors, even dentists, any kind of medical field. A lot of like technology stuff. If you need your hands free,
Yep.
You're in a work environment, you need access to information. And Google's shown us some of it in some of the like demo videos for Glass. You see like an artist carving an ice sculpture and asks for images of a tiger while he's trying to carve a tiger ice sculpture. So those kind of situations where you're working with your hands and you need to. But at that point, there's a purpose, there's a reason for it. It's not socially awkward to be wearing Glass because you're working.
Yep.
And so
I know a bunch of hospitals have started using it already, and from what we've seen, the surgeons really like having Glass because it just makes stuff so much easier.
Yeah, I really totally agree with you. That's the perfect place for that kind of thing.
And think about like teaching hospitals. I mean, you can record the whole surgery so that students can watch it and see what's going on and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of places where it would work well like that, and I think, like you said, just in I guess sort of public society as it is right now, we're just not really ready for it. There's too many people that are creeped out by it. It's just
because even in sports, it's pretty cool too. I know we talked about this a few episodes ago, but I forget what team it was again. Some NBA team they outfitted the whole team with Google Glass for a game, and I'm surprised that they didn't fall off. But
break them.
Recording the game from on the floor like that would be really awesome. Although probably burn the side of your face.
they only wore them when they were on the bench, on the sideline.
On the bench, okay.
Yeah. So.
I thought they might fall off when they were running up and down the court and shooting and everything.
Yeah, for sure, they would. But yeah, so that was interesting to me. Like I said, just because I think that's the direction that Glass is going to go. There's definitely a use case for it, and that's the key, I think, for people to be okay with it. Is it's not just somebody walking around with it on their face. Android Wear, even the current generation, Android Wear watches are enough out of the way. You're not seeing them all the time, and it looks enough like a watch, even if it's big and kind of bulky and it's not actually a watch. That's pretty obvious, but it's still socially acceptable, and it's out of the way. So, I obviously, and so do you guys, feel a lot more comfortable with an Android Wear device than Google Glass on your face all day.
Yep.
So.
Well, battery lasts a lot longer.
That too.
Yep, that's important. But yeah, so I thought it was interesting.
I know people that have Glass. They say driving with it on is actually a lot less distracting than the cops think it is. Because you've got GPS right up there, so you can just look up and see where you got to go. And
even for notifications,
Glass
Glass would be way less distracting than Wear, because then you're still looking at it. You're taking your eyes off the road, whereas with Glass, you're just glancing up and back on the road.
Yeah, because even with Wear, you're going to feel it vibrating on your arm, and you're going to be like, okay, what's going on? Yep. At least if you're like me anyways.
So, but there again, there's a specific use case for it.
Yep.
You're not just kind of wearing it around all the time. So, and we'll get to a point where that kind of augmented reality and using those, those kind of devices to help in our daily lives and having it be more obvious, we'll get to a point where that's acceptable. But we're not there yet. So, But there are places where glasses is going to be used, and I don't think that with the advent of Android Wear that glass is going anywhere by any means. So Google's just figuring out what it's for, which they didn't know when they first launched it. So we really didn't have much in the way of like software and apps and stuff this week. I did want to mention that Hangouts is now part of Google's Apps for Business package. So if you use, I think, Nick, you guys have used Hangouts at work.
Forever.
Yeah. So now if you use Google's Apps for Business package, Hangouts is built in. It wasn't there before because it wasn't ready. With businesses, you've got to have guaranteed uptime, and there can't be many bugs, and Google's always changing the layout and where things are in Hangouts, and so they're stabilizing that. It's getting to the point where they're not, it's running right, and they're not going to be messing with it so much.
They also said with Hangouts for Apps for Business is that you can have 15 people in a Hangout now, like in a a video chat like this. I think regular it was like 8 or 10 before, but now it's 15 for at least for Apps for Business.
Better have a good CPU.
Oh yeah, especially if you're using Chrome.
Yep.
Freaking Chrome.
You need like 64 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
It's almost like TouchWiz on your computer.
My Core i5 work laptop with 3 gigs of RAM can barely handle what we do every week. So.
And there's only 3 of us.
Yep.
Yeah, I've officially uninstalled Chrome from my work laptop. It's just unusable. I don't know what the heck Google did with it, but they completely broke it. But I'm still using it on mobile because it's still the best browser if you ask me on mobile.
Chrome Beta is the best.
Yeah, Chrome Beta is sick. Everything about it's so good. It's funny because the desktop and mobile versions have completely flip-flopped. Like, you remember how awful mobile Chrome used to be?
Yep.
The only reason I used it for a long time is because of the bookmark sync. No other reason at all.
Yeah. I wouldn't use it because it was like the default browser.
Yeah.
I was too lazy to download another one.
Awesome.
So let's jump into some new stuff. I know, Alex, you got at least one new phone. I don't know, Nick, what you got new this week. I got a couple of new things here, but
I got a couple of new tablets somewhere from Dell, which is surprising.
Hey, thanks, Dell.
The Venue 7 and 8 that are here. So you got the 7 and 8 here. Intel Z2560 CPU in there, which I believe is the reason why the performance isn't all that great. Because otherwise the specs are basically the same as the Nexus 7 2013. 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage. Well, the display is a little bit lower. It's 1280. Yeah, 1280 by 800. But there is quite a bit of lag, and I'm pretty sure it's Intel's fault because I think it was Acer, the Acer tablet I reviewed had an Intel processor inside, and it was just terrible with lag and everything. And I'm saying the same exact thing with these. So I think it's more on Intel than on Dell's part, because it's stock Android, literally stock KitKat.
Well, that'll work.
As you can see, I was surprised that was KitKat because this is $159 and $199 tablets, and usually those are like 4.2 these days.
Yeah.
But for it to be 4.4.2, that was pretty surprising to me.
That's nice to hear that Intel at least has their act together, because I know the reason a lot of those budget tablets or budget anything are stuck on 4.2 is because of MediaTek.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say they really have their act together because it still lags.
Hey, the little things, man, the little things.
Like, I booted it up and I'm going through the setup process, trying to type in my, Gmail username, and the Google keyboard is actually lagging. Like, I'm through my name, but it's still on the first letter. Like,
oh, heavens.
It took me forever to put in the password because it just kept lagging. And then we have the Galaxy S5 Active, the camouflage one. So this is the first time I've been on, well, other than the Fire Phone, first time I've really been on AT&T and probably since the Note 3, I think last year. So it's interesting to see how the network has changed, and it's actually changed a lot, but not in really a good way. There's a dedicate button over here, which, hang on, takes you into the
Yes.
activity zone, which gives you all kinds of cool stuff. So you got that. I'm not sure I like the clicky buttons on here better than like the regular S5, but they're there. It feels so much smaller compared to like the G3, which it really isn't that much smaller. Well, speaking of G3, I got the Spy Game Ultra Fit case, which is this one. So far, it's my favorite case I've gotten, like for the G3, or probably any other device I've had. Uh,
And you reviewed that on the site too, right?
oh no, I just got it today.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then there was an app I wanted to show. Okay, this one is Walls. It's too bright. Um, it's WOLZ. It's by Samir Zayer. Nick probably knows him pretty well because we use a lot of his icon packs before, like
Yes.
Flatistigo is his, I think. I get him and Victor,
Yeah, I'd have
whatever
to
his
look to
stuff.
remember the specific ones, but he's
But
good.
there's like 200 different wallpapers in here that you can download and use. They're all on the cloud, so it's not like they're installed or like when you install the app, all the wallpapers are on here. But there's a ton of great ones on here, which he's been posting on Google Plus for like the last couple of months. So I have most of them already. It's like 99 cents in the Play Store, and it launched like 4 or 5 hours ago, like literally. So that's about all that's new for me today.
And that's called Walls, just WALLS?
WOLZ.
WOLZ, okay.
Yeah, I've
Walls. I'm going
posted
to
it
look
on
that up.
my Google Plus page earlier today. If anybody needs the link for it.
Cool, good deal. Nick, man, what about you? What's new?
I put the review up. I don't know if it's been posted yet or not for that Beam. It's called the Mojo speaker. I don't have it with me. Of course, it's in the other room, but it's like a
I
little
don't think
cube.
we
It's a little Bluetooth
published it yet.
speaker. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a little cube. It's a little Bluetooth speaker, and what I really liked about it was it comes with a little wireless charging dock, and it's magnetic. So you just have the dock plugged on your desk or whatever, and take the Bluetooth speaker, wherever you take a Bluetooth speaker. And when you bring it back to your desk, just drop it on there and clicks right in, and you can keep using it. It was really cool. Um,
We need
sound
that
quality
on.
was pretty good. What's
We
that?
need that on. We need that on all speakers
Yeah, that
because that
that
sounds
is the
awesome.
nicest thing I've seen on a Bluetooth speaker in a while. Um,
Because the last battery pack I got from Incipio had something similar to that, but it didn't use magnet to keep it connected to their wireless charger. But you could
yes.
wireless charge the battery pack and then use the battery pack to wireless charge your phone, which I thought was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it's a great design. I mean, the only complaint I had about it was, I mean, I don't know how much you can really complain about the sound quality from a Bluetooth speaker. It was really clean and really clear, but there's like no bass. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, if all you listen to is music with bass, you probably don't want it. And then the other thing, I got this week. It's the Voyager Edge, the Plantronics Bluetooth headset. So I have yet to even open the box for that, but that'll come next. Um, Software-wise, I don't really think I have any new apps that I can think of. I was testing out some ROMs. I still don't feel like anything is ready to jump from CM11 yet on the OnePlus One. Just all the features aren't baked in yet. There's still a bunch of bugs on some of the other ROMs. I think like with Paranoid Android in particular that I was using today, I love the performance. I love the stuff that was in there. Anything that was missing, pretty much, I would just grab Gravity Box and put the feature in there. But I went to go listen to music on the way home from work today, and I realized there's no equalizer. So I had to go back to CM until I could figure that out. And I'm going on
11,
vacation, so I don't want to deal with it right now.
CM11 or 11S.
11S, I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, and I jumped to the CM11 nightlies, and I just haven't haven't had the guts to, or wanted to take the time either to sit down and mess with it, man. That's the thing, is like it just every time I flash a new ROM, it takes an hour to download apps and set everything up again, and I just don't want to mess with it.
At least an hour. I hate it. That's why I don't ever do it anymore. I just don't want to take the time to deal with it. I'm like, it's more inconvenient to do that than whatever advantages the stupid ROM gives me.
That's why the only real ROM I've used in like the last probably almost 2 years now was a deep loaded ROM on the G2, and that's because you had to flash a ROM to root it because of the way LG, changed the rooting process for the T-Mobile one.
Yeah,
Everybody else was simple, but no, LG had to make it difficult for T-Mobile.
And honestly, man, I didn't even look to see if the CM11 Nightlies have the equalizer.
I think, doesn't CM11 have one? Like, typically?
Yeah, I'm in DSP Manager.
Think so.
You can go in and play with stuff in the DSP Manager.
Like, I haven't used CM11. Well, I haven't used CM11 really. Just
11,
11S, but
11S has a different equalizer.
Yeah, I know that
DSP
part.
Manager. So, but yeah, CM11 comes with a DSP Manager. The only thing that I installed from CM11S was the camera.
Yep.
Because Camera Next is awesome.
Yeah, Camera Next rocks.
It's fantastic. Better than at least on the OnePlus One. Better than the Google camera.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It looks and feels like the stock camera, but it adds a ton of options.
The UI is a lot nicer too. At least to me, it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lot more like user friendly.
Yeah, Jeremiah, I'll have to send you the APK for the Audio FX for CM11S and see if it works in just regular 11, because I tried flashing that in Paranoid and it just crashes. So it's got to be some hook in CM's framework or something that it relies on.
From what I was reading on XDA, all of the apps, all of the CM11S apps you can pull. I also pulled the Hexa theme.
Yep.
Just because I like it. I can kind of play with that. Those are the only ones that I pulled. I still have my Android backup, so I can fire up CM11S if I want to and pull that. But yeah, the equalizer, and there was a fourth one that they were saying that works on CM11, no problem. You just flash it like you would a normal sideload APK.
Yeah, I know the lock screen doesn't work. I tried that.
Yes.
Don't do that if you're not on 11S.
I don't even think that works on 11. It might with a little bit of. I was thinking I read somewhere that it did with a little bit of tweaking, like you had to push it to the system folder and then change the app permissions or something. But it wasn't something I really cared to mess with. I just went back to Dash Clock and called it a day. I will say that the CM11 Nightlies so far have been just a hair smoother, I feel like, and a little less buggy, which is kind of odd. I mean, they're Nightlies, right? You're not expecting them to be rock solid. But CM11S was good. The Nightlies, for me, have been better.
I think OnePlus is doing updates every month, isn't it? Or is it every 2 weeks? Like OTAs?
I'm not sure. I know it's frequent, but I don't know if it's
I know it's more often than most other OEMs, especially where they don't have to go through carriers.
But yeah, and that's what's new with me. I jumped from CM11S to CM11. App-wise, I still am playing a lot of Need for Speed because it's great on this phone, man. It's a lot of fun.
Good for you, man.
It gets a little hot, but I'll kill 75% of my battery life in a couple of hours just playing that. What's great is the phone charges really fast.
Yes, it does.
You got to have a 2 amp or higher charger.
I have like a 2.4 amp. Well, I have a dual one on my desk, so I always use that.
And the one that comes with it, I think, is 2 amps. I've got a Samsung one that's 2 amps, and it charges fast. I've tried it on a 1 amp and a 1.5 amp, and the 1 amp, it takes for like all night, hardly, it takes forever. The 1.5 was okay, but it'll charge up in an hour and a half on a 2 amp charger. So
yeah,
that's always great.
I've actually had on a 1 amp charger. It still drains.
Does it?
Yeah, it's just not
Yeah.
enough power.
Yep. The other new thing I've got is these Bluetooth headphones. So,
Yay, Bluetooth.
yep. So these
They're
finally
not
arrived.
LG.
I've been waiting like 2 weeks, and they look like the LG. What's the model number on those?
It's the Tone or the Tone Plus or the Tone Pro.
Yep.
Basically the Tone line.
Yep. And so they look like it. It's got the same, magnetic clip. Oop, I'm bumping my microphone there.
So
So
what
same
do
mic.
you do with that thing? You stick it on your neck?
Yes. So it goes around your
You can
neck.
go under your collar so you can like hide it at work.
Oh,
And then you
okay.
pop this into your ear.
I always wondered about those. Like, I have a friend that has one, and I saw it on his desk a couple of times, and I'm thinking, how the heck does that like fit in your ear going sideways or something? I didn't
Yeah.
realize the earbuds popped off.
Yep. So the earbuds are magnetic, and it pops off.
Okay.
That's actually really handy. It's got volume. Now this one's a little bit bigger than the LG one, but it's got volume controls. It's got a phone call button. Obviously, it's got a mic. Skip track and play pause. So you've got music controls and phone controls right on these two pieces. It's a little bit big. You can see the box is kind of giant.
That is giant.
I just got it this afternoon. I've had it long enough to put a full charge on it. I haven't even paired it to my phone yet. So I think I found them on Amazon for like $55. I don't know if they're worth it yet. We'll find out. The
Doesn't have
LG ones are like 60 or 70.
But the LG ones on Amazon were like 43 because I checked right before the show. Well, that's the older one though.
Right, yeah, the old
ones
ones are a little bit
probably more.
cheaper.
It doesn't have NFC. I don't want it.
No, it's Bluetooth 4.0, so that's a
Yeah.
step up, but it's not.
I like the
NFC.
speakers with NFC now because Dell actually sent me one that I packed up earlier because I already finished reviewing it. That you can just go ahead like tap your phone to the top of it, pairs. You're all set to go, and it's just so easy.
That's sweet.
There's one other app I wanted to show. I forgot about it. It's actually a LocalCast with material design. So I use that for Showbox actually.
I
the
forgot about that.
I've been using it for like 2-3 weeks and always forget about it. It seems
Yeah.
less buggy than AVS. That's why I started using it, and it's free. AVS like $2.99 in that purchase for Chromecast. But
Dude.
all it does is literally Chromecast.
It's perfect. And you know what my favorite part about it is?
Material
when
design.
well, yes, material design, but specifically pulling out and sliding in the app drawer slowly and just watching that icon just kind of fold in and unfold.
So, Nick, you sent me this.
I'm such
I
a
just got
design
this
sucker.
audio. Yep, no, dude, it looks great. Let me jump over to you, Alex, while you're doing that.
It's hard to do it that way.
When you're not looking.
Did you guys ever watch the stupid little 15-second video I made of it?
No.
No, I didn't get a chance to.
I had Drop It Like It's Hot playing in the background while I did it.
Nice.
Just to be obnoxious.
So, Nick, you sent me that Audio FX APK.
Yes.
I just got it.
200K.
I installed it. The first time I opened it, it crashed. I went back into it and opened it. Well, no, because I went back into it, and it's working just fine.
Oh, well, look at that. Yeah,
So
that was the only other thing I needed, because the only thing that I installed from 11S was the camera. And then I realized I didn't have audio effects and tried it, and it just crash.
And I will say DSP Manager's fine. Audio FX is just easier to use.
Yeah.
I'm not really that concerned with the sound coming out of my phone or even over a Bluetooth connection, but it's nice to tweak it a little bit. And Audio FX is nice because it has an equalizer like preset, and you just roll through it beep, and pick your preset, and it just changes for you.
Yep.
So
Yeah, the
really cool.
UI is excellent.
But it does work on CM11, so on the
Good
nightlies.
deal.
But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for the show tonight.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's been fun. We've been rolling for longer than 15 minutes longer than I was expecting tonight, which is good. Even on a slow week, we got tons of stuff to talk about. So the podcast will be up shortly. So I know a bunch of you guys are watching. We got a bunch of comments on the on Google Plus, people that said, "Hey, I'm going to watch the show on YouTube later." Go download the podcast. Go subscribe and download that. Take it with you. You don't necessarily have to jump on YouTube to watch us. So I'm going to link to that on the YouTube page too. But you can find us obviously at androidheadlines.com, on Twitter at Android Headline without the S, Google Plus,
And if
Facebook.
you use Player FM, you can control it from Android Wear while you're listening to us.
You can with Player FM now. So
Beautiful.
And Pocket Cast now has partial material design, so I still can use it.
yes. So Nick, Alex, thanks so much for hanging out, guys. It's always a blast.
Later, dudes.
See you guys later.